So, welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod with Prajwal Prakash, aka PJ Prakash. He's co-founder at Clueso, was previously co-founder at Desklamp. Clueso is a YC SaaS that we're going to talk about today. This podcast is presented to you by podpire.com. If you want to start or scale or be invited to podcasts like this one, go to podpire.com. We help you monetize podcasting. PJ, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you so much for having me, Charles. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. So I think you gave a pretty good intro. I think the one thing that got missed out is I am actually super young. So I started that first company, Desklamp, in college itself. And it was basically a PDF reader. So that started because when COVID hit, I had nothing better to do. So three of us kind of got together and just built something to help us study, like in this whole new remote paradigm. That was the genesis of Desklamp. We built it for ourselves, and then that ended up scaling in our college. So then we just nailed sister colleges and got it to scale there. And then it kind of took off in India. And that's actually how we got into YC. I don't think we were thinking about it too hard in terms of monetizing it. How does it turn into a business? We're just a bunch of kids coding and hit something that was actually growing on its own. So we were super excited at that point. I decided, man, I love building product. I love working with my friends. I love getting to talk to my users. Let's go in this full time. Then when we got into YC, the YC partners were like, we love you guys, but your idea is absolute shit because there's no way on earth anyone's going to pay for a PDF reader. So that was kind of the beginning and end of Desklamp, where we were pretty stubborn. So we thought that, we could get it to generate some amount of revenue. But what YC really helped me realize, and part of the things that I would like to talk about in this podcast is, if you're going to spend your entire day, night, everything, every part of your soul on a business, it should be something that can make it big. Because if you're anyway going to devote so much of your time, you might as well as at least try it for the potential of a big outcome. So they really drilled that mentality into us, that like, go big or go home. So that's kind of where the pivot into Clueso started. So Clueso, which is the company I'm co-founder of now and working full-time on now, we make product videos and documentation with AI. So have you ever used the Loom before, Charles? I'm sure you have if you're a podcast. Vidyard, Loom, similar-ish. Yeah, for sure. So those tools excel at just recording your screen, recording you, and sharing it well, right? Where we kind of fit in is, what we realized is a lot of those recordings were off your screen, like you didn't actually matter that much. And getting those recordings right was really hard. So we discovered this when we were scaling Desklamp, and we wanted to make like demo videos. We wanted to show our customers how to use the product. And just making that content was super time consuming. Like one good video took like a week. I'm sure you can relate how much goes on behind the scenes to actually like making a video good, right? So that's where Clueso kind of started. Our problem statement was, can we make any rough input screen recording into some output that's good and feels like it's, been worked on for a week and been, have a professional designer go through it, have someone really professional record it and get the voice right. That's basically what Clueso kind of started with. So in summary, what Clueso does is you input a screen recording like a Loom video, and you would typically be a customer success manager at a SaaS company, or a product marketer at a SaaS company, or maybe you're someone in the L&D team training employees on how to use internal tools. You just record a rough Loom, very bare bones, just go through the motions like you were explaining it to a friend. And Clueso will use AI to convert that into a super cool studio quality video, swap out your audio track, and even make written documentation out of it. That's like the gist of kind of what Clueso does. I'd love to riff with you on what you think people might find interesting about this journey.
Well, you started off with an interesting point. I think it's a question I often ask myself. You may work in one specific niche and offer like a very specific product for decades, and that thing will never pay off. I don't know, like being a virtual assistant, for example, or let's say having a VA agency, right? How does one understand like how few money or how small their TAM is or how strong their competition is, how does one decide of the best product market fit that could eventually lead to a decacorn?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's kind of easier at the end, right? Like it's easy when you know you're hitting something because your product is like flying off the shelf faster than you can make it. You're scaling at unholy growth rates. Like most popular example is like how Facebook spread back in the day. So that is easy. And I think even the negative side is kind of easy, where your problem statement, when you, I mean, it's just at the problem level, right? Like, is your problem statement even resonating really hard? Like, I think there are some exceptions to this rule of how much the problem resonates, like especially some companies that create markets. But for the most part, I think like what we realized, for example, in our story with Desklamp, is that problem statement of students really struggling to study wasn't quite there. Our tool was a better way to do it, and it improved their productivity, gave them better outcomes for sure. But that resonance of the problem statement with your customer segment, that is really key, I think, because your solution will change, it'll iterate over time. But I think a gut feeling and validation from customers that the problem is real is like a good indicator early on. Of course, that changes as you grow, as your solution matures. You'll realize there may be some barriers in actually solving that problem, or you'll get a deeper insight that maybe there's a reason there's no money in that problem. But at the base level, that's basically where it starts.
But how did you decide it in your case that Clueso was like a $1 billion problem to
Yeah,
fix?
that is a great question. So for us, we were actually stuck in pivot hell for like a month, where we were, just once we decided, okay, we're moving on from Desklamp, how do we figure out what the next idea is? And we tried, again, like I said, we're a really young team, so we don't have that much exposure to like domain specific problems. So we first tried like, things in software, like maybe code documentation. So we talked to like a bunch of engineers. We messed around with a few ideas like this. And then I think we spoke to Michael Seibel at YC, and he gave us like a very solid piece of advice, which is, okay, when you're at that first stage and you have nothing to do, then find one customer who will pay you for something and start with that. Like that is the marker to look for initially. So in our case, we found this other SaaS company in the batch who was like, hey, if you can solve this, I'll pay you guys $200 a month, easy, no questions asked. So we just built like over like a weekend. Basically, I stayed up all night and just built the first version of this that could add some value. It was like basically just a Chrome extension that didn't even have like an actual web page and stuff, but it added them value because they really had to get help content out. So you start from there, you try and find signals that corroborate your thing. But I definitely think like that at the start, you can't learn without having something to show customers as well. Like the problem is important, but it's very hard to evaluate in problem space. You need to have some solution, some hint of something that you can show a customer, engage. Okay, are we sort of on the right track? Is there any problem product fit? So we never gauged if it's a decacorn, to be honest. That evolved over time. Like we just kept running with it, and the use cases naturally expanded. We started with SaaS documentation, then non-SaaS companies started reaching out saying, hey, can we use this for like internal training? And then that really expanded the market. So to be honest, even now, I don't know how big it is, or if it's like, if you talk to me a year later, I may have completely different insights. But that's kind of how our journey has progressed. And again, the moment you start building a product, if you keep your mind open to it, you will feel those markets expand. Like you'll feel adjacencies, small things in the product that you'll change, or like just different user or different problem for the same user. They evolve.
Right. And at this point, how many clients do you have and are you raising this year?
No, so we raised with YC, so we're YC backed. So we're a very lean team. We're based out of India, so there's no real like cash crunch. Honestly, that was a big motivation behind being in India. So there's no pressure. We have like over 70 clients now. It's been like the last 3-4 months have actually been insane. So I think July to November-ish was a little hard because we were also kind of like the product was building up. We were trying to settle on what piece of this problem statement of like educating customers as a SaaS company, what piece really clicked. And then I think by November, the video element that we had really started clicking. Like that was the problem that resonated the most because it just takes so much time. So then we leaned harder into that, started building more features around that. At this point, we basically have a full-fledged video editor in the product. So that's really helped. that's kind of been our
How
growth.
many
Yeah.
clients?
We have 74, maybe 75 by the time this call is over. There's one conversation going on parallelly.
Good. That's pretty
So,
good. Wow. Okay. So
so
75. And how much are you aiming for this year? At the end of this year, 150, let's say?
I think honestly, I'm not even looking at it in terms of number of customers. I want to get my contract size up. That's a big concern. So that's kind of where the whole market sizing thing kind of comes into play, right? Like at least right now, the bulk of our customers are other B2B SaaS companies, and there aren't that many of them out there, at least the ones who are big enough and ready to pay. So what I'm trying to explore is how can we add additional value and get those contract sizes up. So for me, the goal is just can I with these 75, can I upsell them to a like much bigger contract size? Right now our average is like 3K. I want that to go much higher.
3K per year or?
Yeah, per year.
Okay. And how can you upsell that? Is it like a license model? How does it work?
Yeah, it's like licenses and usage based. So the amount of video that you export, that becomes the metric on which you're charged. Like that's like straightforward. Like think of it like API tokens, credits for minutes exported. But what we're also looking to do is see, yeah, how can we bundle additional features in there and charge those separately? Like, for example, one thing which we're very enthusiastic about is language translation. Like, let's say you have a team that builds content in English. It's a lot of effort to get it in, say, German or Spanish. Like, that requires a whole separate team. And like making a video is basically impossible. So now with Clueso, one click, you get a German, exact same thing. So that we're looking at, I think there's a lot of iteration to be done on business model. How do we get it to be fair for both parties and get it to like naturally scale well? That's a bit of a challenge, but we're figuring that out.
And who do you target? Titles, industry, verticals, revenues?
Yeah, right now I think our bread and butter is B2B SaaS post like Series A. So that's typically when they get their customer success manager. So that's like a great fit because like customer success manager comes in and the first thing they're like is how are we supporting our customers right now? Like it's horrible. That's generally what happens at that seed to Series A point. That's like the best target. But we are seeing like so what happens when you become an even bigger SaaS company at like Series D, Series E, you have dedicated customer education teams who just build videos, so we're trying to get in there as well. So there, the tools that they use are kind of different. Their priorities are different, and that's also where high contracts come in. Apart from that, there's a lot of interesting inbound interest coming from like like the internal training use case essentially. So that's we're exploring on like parallelly, but not devoting like actively seeking those out.
Yeah, I see the potential in Clueso. Just curious though, like people record and don't put a voice. Like I thought like when you did
So
record a video, you did put your voice and you did put voice indications. So what's up with that?
so basically, whatever voice I use, I'm just using that as input to the AI. So what will happen is I'll record a video, then an LLM will clean up that transcript, just make sure it's, fix all grammatical mistakes and all of that. And then that's generated through TTS. So your end output is like a cleaner version of everything that I'm saying. So it still contains the same content as what I said. Of course, I can edit it after that, but it's said with the AI. I can
And
show you a video actually.
yeah, let's do that in a moment because seen it on my screen. I see the potential in it, like me, for example, I know that it's not in your niche, could be like potentially, but definitely posting like courses, right? Like if I record myself
Mhm.
and I want to sell this cold email class, let's say, I would film it all in one go, and then this AI could just clean it up, like when I start or just I
Exactly.
mess up a step, Instead I mess up a step, the AI would detect it. It would tell me, oh, here there's a potential mess up. Do you want to delete it? Then I click yes. But yeah, let's show a quick demo to the audience.
For sure. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. One sec. Yeah, let me just get it set up.
What
Yeah,
features
so
do
it's
you have
actually
on
even clean.
the roadmap, by the way?
That's a great question. I think one thing I'm really passionate about is auto updating content because like a lot of the things we've heard are essentially around uh, updating content. Like once I do record a video and make it, it is a lot of effort to go and change one little screen in there. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what we're working with. Okay, so for the sake of this quick demo, I'm going to take an example of recording, say, a feature on Google Docs. So the experience when you start is very similar to using Loom. I'll just switch to my account. We've done that before. Oopsie daisy. Okay. Yeah, so the experience is very similar to using Loom. You just share your tab and start. And again, like I said, we'll just do a very informal, quick run through of exactly what this feature is. So let me get that started. Okay, in this video, we look at how to enable notification settings for your Google Doc. So first, you can click on Tools, then go to Notification Settings. Here in this pop-up, just select this Added or Removed Content option. Now you'll get notifications anytime anything happens. Finally, click OK. That's it. You're done. So I just recorded this really rough, informal, I was stuttering in the middle. This isn't something that I would want to share with customers, but let's see what Clueso does with it in like just a few seconds, right? So the first thing you get is a full written doc walking through all of these steps. So we capture these screenshots for every single step. These screenshots are automatically zoomed in. We also try to intelligently bucket these into steps from the get-go. But of course, as you can see, it's gotten the content, but it's not really formatted in a way that I'm comfortable sharing it with the customer just yet. So you just click AI Enhance. So what's this is going to do is it's going to rewrite this article the way a professional technical writer would. So they're like these style guidelines in terms of how you write an instruction with like a verb and how you bold things. So yeah, so it's just done that. It's just crisp. So the article, the aim is to be really easy for a user to scan through and just get the gist of exactly what to do. So it just takes away all the fluff and just focuses on these things. Of course, if you want to make your article a little bit more exciting, we have lots of features around the visual element of your article. So you can like create a GIF out of any clip of your video. You can edit any of these screenshots by zooming in, zooming out, adding blurs, those kind of things. And basically anything you would ever need to create your article is right here. And if there's any extra screen that I want to add from the video, I can just scrub through my video and add that screen as well. So one-stop shop article completely done. Parallelly, we also create the video. So let me just go ahead and give this a name. Demo for Charles. Awesome. So this, it automatically adds a branded intro or outro depending on the client. So I'm making this on our own account. So it has the Clueso intro, Clueso background, Clueso outro. And of course, the USP, like we were talking about, is the audio itself. So just let me know if you can hear the video.
Nope. No, you won't
Okay,
be
let me
able,
just-
I think, on a Zoom call, if I'm not mistaken, but or
I
try
just
again.
shared the wrong. Yeah, let me just share again. I think there's that checkbox. I always forget to click it. Can you see it now?
Yeah, let's see.
Awesome. So if you listen to this right now, it's still how to enable notifications, my original audio, right? But on the left, similar to the article, we have this entire transcript that's written out. So once again, like what I did with the article, I'm going to enhance it with AI. But this works a little bit differently. This is not trying to make it crisp and formal. It's trying to make it more conversational, trying to make sure it actually fits as a video script. So it'll maintain all the information that you have, but just fix up the grammar. Once the transcript looks okay, I can pick a voice. So like in my case, I have customers in America and I'd rather them not know that I'm Indian, to be honest. So you can pick one of these American accent voices, or I mean, honestly, this depends on preference and customer base, whatever you're more comfortable with, and click generate. So now what's happening is Clueso is going to swap out my audio track with this new inserted audio track, right? And if you think about it, this is one of my favorite parts about the product. The idea of swapping an audio track is actually really complex because I've also changed up the words. So now what I don't want to happen is when the audio is saying something like click on tools, in the video, something else entirely is happening. That's the biggest challenge with like AI voiceovers right now. Like syncing is such a hard problem. So Clueso solves that automatically. So let me go ahead and play this video now for you. I've added a little bit of background music as well. And hit play.
In this video, we'll look at how to enable notification settings for your Google Doc. First, click on Tools, then go to Notification Settings. In this pop-up, simply select the Added or Removed Content option. This way, you'll receive notifications anytime something changes in your document. Finally, click OK. That's it. You're all set.
That's pretty cool,
Yep,
man. Who's
and
in charge of building all of this?
so right now it's just a team of three. So I'm the CTO, and me and my CEO Akash. Akash leads the design and front end, and I've worked overall on the tech.
Did you
It's really fun.
mostly took like the features from libraries, or did you hard coded most of it?
So I would say a lot of like the underlying coolness is AI APIs. Like for example, the script enhancement was OpenAI, the
Okay.
voice was 11 Labs,
Yeah.
but all the infrastructure around it is like built up from scratch. So even like this video player is something we've built up from scratch. The rendering pipeline on the back end to like sync it, we've built up from scratch. All these things on the articles, like managing these screenshots, this entire rich text framework. I mean, we're using Prose Mirror, but all of that we've built on top of that. So a fair amount of cool tech. I mean, the way I see it is like there are all these cool AI technologies there, but the actual workflow of like building a video out of it is painful. And that's kind of where Clueso fits in.
Right. Do you sometimes think of the fact that like you could be offering these services to companies, like piecing all of this together, like a part of your time? I don't mind being paid 100K for probably like 15 hours of your time.
That's an interesting approach. I think again, like this is one of the philosophies that YC really nailed. Don't I mean you're kind of in this for the long run. You're doing this also because it's fun. So I would do something like I would only consider something like that if it were a really, really fun project and would benefit the whole team in some way. But honestly speaking, no, I think that time is better spent on the product.
Right. Yeah, I know that YC is quite strong on that. Last, tell us
Yeah.
about that gold medal of yours, like at India's #1 university. Like that was a mad
Oh,
hustle.
for sure.
Yeah, like what happened there?
Yeah, that was actually really awesome, and I feel like it's also reflective of how India culture is changing. So basically, that gold medal is given to the student who has like the best all around performance in their 4 years. So that's typically a mixture of academics and like extracurricular activities. And historically, those extracurricular activities were also, how do I put it, like well defined. You know, like intercollegiate fests or like cultural competitions or sports or uh, you know internships, those kind of things. But I think I was one of the first cases where they actually really valued that, hey, you sat and you built out something that people across the country are using that deserves some amount of credit. So I really respected them for that. Like a huge part of it was that I mean, I was also from like the Department of Computer Science in India is like it is ridiculously competitive to get in. I mean, not trying to toot my own horn. If you like Google JE acceptance rates, it is crazy. Like I think it's easily the hardest, if not, I mean, except for the Chinese one, it's the hardest exam on planet Earth. And getting into computer science in specific is like insanely hard. So in India, there's this atmosphere where basically anyone will employ you when you're from that program and at like ridiculously high rates. So I mean, I didn't want to do that because it just didn't seem like something that would be fun. And I fortunately didn't have like any economic constraints where it was like I desperately need money at any point. So I was like, let's just make the most of the opportunity we have. And I'm really happy that college actually recognized that because generally, government colleges, they're not the best at, accepting these kind of movements that like entrepreneurship among students has become. So yeah, that's something I'm really proud of, and I'm really happy that some of my juniors in that college are now starting up. Like one of them is running a drone company, which is crazy. Three of them are building in a like sales tech automation, SaaS. So I'm really happy that like it kind of started and it's going on.
If you want to connect me with some of these peers, and yeah, me, I don't like most of the education system, but I know how hard it is to do that. And there's no tooting of your own horn. I do understand how hard and almost near impossible that is, as a high performer myself. So yeah, good job on that. And quite the asymmetric decisions that you made to go into YC instead of being paid 500K a year as a quant or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I'm very happy with it. And I honestly like it's also a bit validating in like a little bit of a cruel way. Like when I talk to my batchmates now, like I think there is a lot more to life, right? Like even though we're doing this entrepreneurship and I talked about big outcomes and all that, honestly, it's the journey. That's what's fun. Like you're doing this because you like building product and shipping it to users, and it gives you like a lot of purpose. Like I'm up till 3 a.m. every day because it's fun at the end of the day. So Yeah, for sure. I would love to connect you with some of those juniors. Think you'll have a fun time talking to them.
Thanks for that. And where can people find out more about you, PJ?
Yeah, I'm not the greatest at maintaining a social profile. I honestly think my LinkedIn is like the only place where there is something going on. So I'd say check out my LinkedIn. Definitely check out Clueso. If anyone in the audience is a SaaS company founder, hit us up for sure.